Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Monkey Wrench. I'm Kelly, the monkey with the wrench. Today I'm working on something I've done a few times, but not between two models. I have just released my cleanup video for the elderly gentleman around the way, during which time I used my favorite Echo weed eater there on the right, but I've got this Husqvarna that was an original weed eater, but you could put attachments on it, so I put the edger on. It worked fine the first day, then I had trouble with it the second day. Fixed it. It was a carburetor issue. It gets pretty hot and I don't like it. It's bulky, it's weird. I'm just not a Husqvarna fan. So what I have here is an Echo stick edger. I don't know if you've seen that video yet. I won't give it away, but there's something wrong with the motor and it's not worth fixing. However, I've got my backup weed eater here. This is a Stihl, and it runs just fine. I'll show you that in a second. On the weed eater, it's got a curved shaft that I hate. It's awkward to use. You got to bend over to use it. And since I have these two and I want an edger that I can rely on, I measured the shafts. Both of the shafts are close. They're within a millimeter or so. So they should work just fine. So what I'm going to do is take the motor off of this shaft and take off the throttle and trigger and assembly and all that. I'm going to put this stick edger shaft on this Stihl and make this a Stihl stick edger. So let me show you that it works. Now weed eaters, stick edgers, they all work the same. There's just a square spline that goes down the... I'm having a complete brain fart, of course. There's a straight spline with square ends that goes from the motor to the head. And as long as your diameters of your shaft are the same, should be no issue in swapping these over and Frankensteining this together. So this thing runs pretty good. So what I want to do is take this off and put the stick edger on. Now these are real easy to do. Believe it or not, it's only a 5-minute project. On these Stihls, you get yourself a Torx bit. It's a T25, and you want to turn it over. And underneath here, you'll find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Torx bit screws. Loosen them up. The throttle assembly on these, all of this is one piece. So we're literally just pulling out this shaft. Loosen them up pretty good. I don't think we have to take them all the way out. The center one on the back is the one that actually goes through the shaft here and holds it and keeps it from sliding out. The two outer ones just tighten it all down. So once you can spin it like that, you should be able to just pull that out. Everything should stay exactly where it should be. You can see the spline just sticks out a little bit, and this is the hole I was talking about. That hole lines up with this middle screw. So when you put it down, it goes through that hole and stops the shaft from being able to twist or come out. That's it. This thing is still completely good. I could start it up right now, pull the trigger, everything would be fine. So now, let me move the camera. Now I had to get some vice grips. First thing you want to do is take off your throttle, which comes off top of your carburetor. Unplug your two wires. You're not going to need any of this. You have a T25 here that loosens up. Mine was extra tight, so I had to break out a pair of vice grips to loosen it so I wouldn't strip it out. Now I could just loosen this up, and I should be able to just pull this head off. There we go. Now remember, this is a paperweight. I'm only keeping that for extra parts. The carburetor on it's good, a few other things. Now what I want to do is use a Phillips head, and I want to loosen this. This is the backstop to keep your rubber from coming off, and your wires actually go through it as well. just a holder. Sometimes they're a pain in the butt to get off. It looks like I'm going to have to take the screw all the way out. There's a nut on the back side, don't lose that. In case, in case this doesn't work, in case I have to put it back together, not that I will, I'll keep it apart. The only thing I'm concerned about is if the shaft is a different width, a different circumference. I'm just going to take that off. Now, you have to get the rubber part off here. This is the soft part for your hands. And you can see that I'm just kind of wiggling it. Looks like I'm going to have to take the zip tie off that's in the way. Let me get some cutters. I don't want to rip that foam. Now the only difference between these two shafts that I know of is that on the top here there's not a hole drilled through it, but I can measure the other shaft. I can drill a hole in there for that center screw if that center screw doesn't tighten down and keep it tight enough for me. If I find it coming loose, then I will just go ahead and drill a hole so that that screw can go in it and hold it if necessary. Your wires will come through. The reason that I'm not worrying about drilling the hole just yet is because I want to make sure that the circumference of the shaft is correct and that it will fit. Now I'm going to loosen up these two on the trigger assembly. I'm not going to take them apart because there's springs and levers in there. I'm just going to loosen it up. Just a little bit. Looks like there's a third one here. Doesn't want to go. Damn it. Let me get a flathead screwdriver for that. Once I get this off, I'll be able to slide this into the Stihl and make sure that the circumference is close enough, because the spline itself is going to be the same. I'm trying to get a proper screwdriver in there so I don't strip it. It doesn't want to come out, which means this is going to be fun. Alright, let me get this last screw out, and then all we're going to do is slide this off, and I'll bust that off because, this particular piece is trash if I don't want it. Okay, I could not get that screw to loosen, so what I did was I took the two outside screws off because there's a little lip that it sits on, so that I actually took the whole trigger mechanism apart to get it past this lip so I could get it off. That's fine, I didn't break anything, but I don't really care either. So now I'm just going to take this and slide it in. You're going to have to slide it in, and you're going to have to wiggle and make sure that it seats in there. And then I'm going to turn that over. And I think it's seated, and I think it is. And I'm going to tighten it up. Now again, this shaft is missing that middle hole, which stops this from spinning and coming off. So I may have to take this back off just so I can drill that hole. I can measure it on the old shaft and drill it so that it has a hole in the same spot. If this doesn't tighten it down enough, I just want to test it and make sure that the shaft is the same circumference. It was close, within a millimeter, when I put my calipers on it. So I think it's going to be okay. So what I'm just doing now, see, it's not though. I'm definitely going to have to drill that hole. So what I want to do is I want to start it, and I want to make sure that it spins that blade at the bottom the way it's supposed to before I drill that hole. Get your tools out of the way. And as you can see, it will work. So what I'm going to do is take this back off. I'm going to get the old shaft. I'm going to measure it. These things are such a pain in the ass, they won't go anywhere you want them to go. I'm going to measure how far down this is supposed to be, so that when I slide it in place, it's in the same spot. The fact that the old shaft is smaller does not matter, because this bit of the shaft should go in just as far as this one did, which means our screw hole should be that far down. So I'll just measure that distance, mark it. I'll make sure it's on the bottom. I'll drill a hole this size, and then I'll put this back together, even if I have to get a slightly longer screw. So let me do that, and I'll get back with you. All right. Now I measured it, marked my pilot hole, drilled my pilot hole. Now I'm just drilling it to the correct size, which I'm not going to tell you the measurement or the size of the hole, because you may have a different model, and if you go by what I say and you drill a hole in the wrong spot, you'll blame me. So now I got my hole, and like I said, the screw might be too short. This shaft, I think, is just a tad bit smaller than the original, so it may wobble on me just a little bit. I don't know yet. I may need to get a longer bolt. To make sure that it fits, but as I already showed you, it does in fact spin. Nothing wants to stay. You know what? Give me a minute. I'm going to clear all my tools and I'm going to lock this thing down because I'm tired of it spinning. Okay, I do not have currently a longer bolt with the same thread pattern, and I don't know if I can get one out of my little out of my jars or whatever. So I may have to run up to the store with this bolt and get a longer one. You don't want it to be too much longer because you don't want it to hit the spline that's in the center of the shaft. Hopefully it's long enough. It should have gone through the old one, so it should go through the new one because it was only a millimeter difference. Okay, good. So it did. So by drilling that hole, that allowed that bolt to go down and into the shaft to stop it from twisting and to stop it from pulling out. So now I'm in there good. Now all I got to do is make sure that all the rest of my screws are tight. The difference is so negligible between the thickness of the circumference of the shafts that we're good. Now these two hold the trigger assembly together and squeeze tight on there. These two outside ones do the same thing. The center one is important to go through the shaft and make sure it doesn't twist or pull out. And that, my friends, is it. Now we're good and solid. So let me back the camera up. And now we've taken an Echo stick edger and a Stihl short shaft, curved shaft weed eater, put them together successfully have a second edger. So there's the old short shaft that came off of that Stihl, and there it is hanging up on the fence. It's actually a little bit longer than my Husqvarna. It's a little bit lighter and a lot less bulky as well. And even though I'm not a big Stihl fan over Echo, that thing has been reliable, and I am now happy that I have a stick edger that will start on the first or second pull and has given me little to no trouble over the past few years. I've owned that for, I don't know, a couple, 3 years. And when I first got it, the only thing I did was put a $20 Amazon carburetor on it. And I haven't touched that thing probably in a year. And I'll tell you, I'm impressed. Right before I decided to shoot this video, once I measured those shafts the other day and found out that they were so close in circumference that it should work, I just came out here right before I shoot the video, poured some fuel in it, cold started it after a year, didn't think it would start, figured the carburetor was going to be dried out and might need a rebuild or a new carb. And she started up on the second pull and it's running great. So I more than likely will get a new carburetor. You know, if you watch the channel, I'm not big on rebuild kits. They cost almost as much as a carburetor does, and you still got to do the work. But now I've got an edger that I can rely on, as well as now I know how to adjust the carburetor. It's just a little finicky on that Husqvarna. So I have 2 edgers. Don't worry, I have plenty of weed eaters. There's another Stihl weed eater hanging back there. That's mine. So I have a backup weed eater. I have a couple over there, a couple in there. They're all over. So next, hopefully, I will be doing a chainsaw repair out of one of those or one of these, whatever. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, there's another weed eater over there. Thanks for watching. Check out the yard cleanup video that I just posted. I really think those are going to do well. Thanks so much. Hit the like button. Give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. It's somewhere between my chin and my balls, and I'll see you soon.